Alright. Good morning. Sorry for the late start. This is Virtual PBX dash admin training. And I'm just making sure our sound is going through. There we go. All right. So on the screen here, you see our dash login page. This is at dash.virtualpbx.com. You'll need your email address. So if you just signed up, that's going to be the email address you use for your sign up. The system would have sent you a password, which you can put the password field. And then you have the account name, typically your company name. And then for most people, they click on the remember me. But if you ever forgot your password, you have your forgot info. Oops. Sorry, this will take a minute. Try the scan. It just checked my password does work. So I'm not sure what's going on with the change software here. apologize for this. I'm not sure why this software seems to be cutting off part of my password. All right. It's very strange, but you got logged in. So this is our dashboard. If you've just signed up, it'll first take you to the dash wizard, which will show you your account information, which you can get to by clicking on your name up top here. And so you can adjust like your time zone or your date and time display, that sort of thing. And then you have your account information. But once you close that, then you're back here on the dashboard. All right, so we're going to start here in the middle. This is your total users. These are people who are making and receiving phone calls. Depending on your plan, adding more users may increase your bill. So just refer to your plan before you start adding a bunch. Then we have your total devices and the breakdown. So soft phone, software application, usually on a computer, but it can be used on a cell phone or a tablet. Basically, the program that acts like a phone. Web phone is a particular type of soft phone. Dash, you can use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls. You have to add the web phone to your user first. All right, cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. SIP phone is a kind of physical VoIP phone. Right? So VoIP is voice over internet protocol. This is physical phone, sits on your desk, you can pick it up, make and receive calls. And then landline, pretty self-explanatory. Unregistered devices, these are your VoIP phones, so soft phone, web phone, SIP phone, and the system says we have 26 of them that aren't connected. That could be a power outage, they're not plugged in, could be a network issue. All right, then total numbers, these are the numbers on your account. Depending on your plan, will determine how many phone numbers are included as part of your plan price. Once you go over that allotment, it is typically $4.99 per month per phone number. So on this plan, I am probably paying quite a bit for phone numbers. All right, then we have it broken down. Assigned numbers and spare numbers. So an assigned number is a number that's in use. So it can be my main number. It can be a number that goes directly to a user, to a ring group, to a queue, that sort of thing. A spare number, you're still going to be charged for if you're over your allotment, but it's a number you're reserved, right? So it's on your account, but it's not ringing anywhere. Then we have it broken down, in this case, US toll-free and US DID, right? So DID, or the US DID, means it's a local phone number, right? So a number in Los Angeles or in Dallas, that sort of thing. You can also have international phone numbers, which would have a separate entry. If you're looking to add an international number, you just need to email porting@virtualpbx.com, and we'll need to know your city and the country that you want a phone number from. Some countries require documentation, basically showing that you have a presence in that city to actually get a phone number. Over here to the right, you've got your main numbers. So these are your general numbers that your customers call to get to your system. These numbers behave the same way. So they'll have the same main grading, and they'll have the same routing. Next, we have our conference numbers. So if you're making use of the conference bridge, this is the number your participants and moderators call into. You notice down here at the bottom, we have 5 active conference bridges, which that means is you have 5 users that you have set up conferencing on. All right, fax box number. This is where you receive your faxes. And then company directory users, which you can download. Now, not every user has to be in the company directory. Something to be aware. Up here, caller ID. Basically, you're selecting which phone number is your main outbound caller ID phone number. Then you've got the company caller ID name. This is 15 character, including spaces and special characters. Once you click save, or save changes rather, this gets transmitted to the other carriers who support CNAME. It takes about 3 business days to get updated. But then when you make an outbound call, your company name should show up. A couple things to keep in mind. Not every carrier supports CNAME. So if a call happens to route through that carrier or those carriers, then your CNAME information doesn't get through. Even for the carriers that do support CNAME, it's their low priority, right? They are primarily concerned about connecting the call and then delivering the caller ID phone number, and then lastly, the CNAME. So if they have heavy call volume, they'll probably drop CNAME information first just to make sure calls can still connect. And then down below here, you've got your E911. So this is for your VoIP phone users. Basically, when they pick up the handset and dial 911, this is the default address that is sent to emergency services. You can also set that differently for different devices, so that for your remote employees, they'll have their actual correct address. All right, hold music. So on Dash, what hold music is is after the inbound caller has connected to a staff member, right? So that staff member has started talking to the customer, and then they press hold on their phone. And then this is the file that will play by default. You can upload your own. Dash will accept .mp3 or .wave. You want to make sure it's recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte in size. Then you would find the file on your computer, and then click the upload icon, and then click Save Change. All right, so then we'll go to Hours. All right, so if you just signed up, by default, you're going to be on 24-hour open office. Most customers choose custom office hours. For each day of the week that you're open, just put a check mark. And then in the boxes to the right, you select your open hours in 24-hour or military time. And you can just select the box or the time from the pull down. Also here towards the bottom, if your whole business is closed for lunch, you can put a check mark here and then include or indicate your lunch hours. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, put a check mark right here. And then you can add your holidays over here to the right. So single day, just one day. So like your President's Day, as an example, you give it a name. You select the month and the date, then you would click Save Change. All right, date range. That's like our Christmas example up here. Again, give it a name. And then select the start date and the end date. And then advanced, that's like this retreat example. I just click the first Friday in July. Office is closed. One thing to keep in mind is that there's no year indicator. So, for instance, President's Day, a couple days after President's Day, I want to update the date and then click Save Changes. All right, so then the next year I'm already set. One thing to keep in mind for date range, you do not want to include New Year's Eve and New Year's Day in the same date range. As there's no year indicator, the system puts you in closed basically all year. Right, incoming call handling. So this is how your system is going to handle the incoming call on your main numbers. Notice we have some sub-tabs, right? Open hours, you have your lunch hours, after hours, and then holiday. So this first option here under open hours, call comes in, goes to your virtual receptionist. In this new window on the left, you have your main menu. This is what your customers press on their phone to navigate to the system. On the right-hand side, this is where you deal with your main greeting, basically create or upload. So basically, this is where you're telling your customers how to navigate, right? So you add a route. You can use a pull down. Well, it's not letting me here. Just like basically 0 through 9. And then you can select where they're going to go. what was extra on here. But you can see I've got groups. It's got media file. Excuse me. You got mailboxes. You've got actual particular users and actual devices. One caveat about having a menu option go to a media file is after that media file completes, the call ends. All right. Greetings, text to speech. You type it up. You click update, save, and then save. Save, then save changes. Then it's playing. It's a computerized robotic voice. Upload your own file. .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. And then you would find the file, click update. If you've already uploaded files or added other greetings in other fashions, this will be a pull down that you can see what you have available and select what you want. You can record it over the phone. Now by default, this is for use with a VoIP phone that you have on the account. So then you'd call into your main number and you would enter this PIN number. And the PIN number is different depending on the time of day, right? So your lunch hours can have a different PIN, your after hours, different PIN, etc. And then the system will guide you through recording it over the phone. Now, if you already have a greeting in place and you want to record a new one over the phone, you can still do that. That's basically you call in, the existing greeting plays, you enter your PIN number. So then the system prompts you to record a new greeting. Now, when you do record that new greeting, it replaces the file that's already in play, right? So greeting A, that's what you just heard, that you hit the PIN number. You record a new greeting. The file name for greeting A stays the same, but the content changes to what you just recorded. I don't know if I explained that well, but essentially recording over the phone will replace the content of the existing greeting. Professional recording service. When you click order, take you to a different website. We've partnered with a company called Snap Recordings. They have like 100 voice actors to choose from. They have different versions of English, a couple different versions of Spanish and French. You can do multilingual greetings. They have packages, so you can do a combination of music and a script. They have their own pricing, and they handle their own billing. But they deliver to you typically via email, and then you just upload the file. And then settings, number of retries on misdial. Basically, how many times can your inbound caller hit an invalid entry, right? So they keep hitting 6, even though you haven't denoted 6. So after that second misdial, the system will then send them to this default route. If you don't have a default route, then the call will end. The reason to not have a default route is to cut down on robodialers on getting to people or voicemail boxes, and thus using up minutes. Right. So any changes you make, either to the main menu or to the greetings, right, you would click Save, but you also need to click Save Changes, and then everything is saved. All right. This next option here, call comes in, it's going to be offered to Bob. If Bob is not able to answer, then it goes to the open hours virtual receptionist. Right, so it's the same. All right, same menu option. and the same greeting file. Now you can choose to have this go to a ring group, for example. So you can have like your operators, right? So a group of people who are just there to answer the call. But if none of them are able to pick up, then they can go to the receptionist and still hit a menu option. This third option, call comes in, offer to, again, Bob, but you can also go to a ring group, for example. Not able to pick up, then go to a voicemail box. Now your other time slots, right, they have the same basic options, excuse me. Just be aware that the virtual receptionist is completely different for each one, right? So you'd have to set them up individually. And the same would apply for after hours and holiday. All right. Then conference numbers. You can have multiple conference numbers. You can enter in a custom greeting. Now this is right now just a text-to-speech. We have had a feature request to upload your own file here, and that's something that our engineering team is still working with. All right, your main fax box number. And you add a number, you can receive faxes. You can edit the fax box. It's going to pop up a window, and there's two fields. The first field is to put in email address. So that's the person or the email address that's going to receive the faxes. Basically, they're getting PDFs. The second field, you can also put in an email domain, right? So if you're abccleaners.com, right, everyone at your company has an email address that ends at abccleaners.com. You can add that domain, then anyone with that email domain can send a fax out. They don't need to be a user on your Dash account. To send a fax out via email, you create a new email. In the to field, you put the +, 1, area code, and the phone number that you're faxing to. Then you have the @ symbol, and then you need your account realm, which you click on your name at the top again. You go to account. Oh, here we go. Looks like they moved it on me again. Well, that could be because I'm on a test account. So normally your account realm is under the account information. So after the @ symbol, you put that there. Then in the email, you attach a PDF or a TIFF, and you send that out. Only one attachment per email. You don't need any text within the email itself, because that's not going through to the fax. It's just the document that you attach that's being sent. All right, numbers. Shows all your numbers on the account. On this account, I have some invalid ones up here at the top, and these are just porting attempt examples, so they're not completed. But the rest are just showing where they go. Under spare numbers, you see I have some extra numbers. I can buy additional numbers here. Now, any place you can assign a phone number, so main number, the fax box, conference, even on a user or in a group, you have an option to buy a number there, right? Because basically, when you buy it at that specific location, it assigns it there right off the bat. If you just want to get a bunch of numbers and then assign them later, that's why you would do it through numbers. Process is still basically the same. You would click on buy, you select local or toll-free. For toll-free, for example, you would pick the toll-free prefix and hit search. And then you click add next to the numbers you want. And you can add multiple at once. You click by numbers. And then it gets added to wherever you are. So in this case, added to spare numbers. But if I was on one of my users, it'd be added to that user. Port starts the port process. Click new port. And you just follow the on-screen instructions. The main things, it's going to ask you to upload a copy of your bill. And then it'll let you download a blank LOA, letter of agency, and also allow you to upload a completed LOA. On the LOA, it's going to ask you for account information. That should be what your current carrier has on file for you. Right? So porting, you're moving a phone number from like AT&T to VirtualPBX. Right? So you're moving that phone number. So the LOA is saying, hey, losing carrier, here's the information. I'm authorizing VirtualPBX to take control of this phone number. Right? We send them that document. They verify it's all correct. Then they let us know when they're going to give us that phone number. If there's any problems with the document, i.e. the address doesn't match, for example, they'll let us know, and then we let you know, saying, we got rejected, and here's the reason they gave us. At that point, you have to contact your current carrier and find out what information was really wrong, and either have them update or get the correct information, let us know, and then we resubmit the port. Porting for toll-free numbers usually takes about 3 to 5 business days. For a local number, the average about 2 weeks, but it can range quite a bit. All right, go to users. Shows you all your users. You can add user by clicking up here. You input their name, and then their email for login. Right, this needs to be unique for each user. Then you enter a password, and then you give them an extension number. So on this account, I started it with extension 1000. So it's defaulting to the next available extension that's in that series, in this case 1028. But I can enter a different extension number. Right, I could put in 3524. By default, when you create a new extension, the system creates a voicemail box for that user. And then you've got these other options. All right, so this is where you can put them in the user directory or not. If you send emails to an alternate address, this would be in addition to the login address. Right, so you want your people to get their voicemail sent to their home email address, for example. And then the one I think that should always be or be checked, is send credentials to the user, right? So they know how to log in. And then you click on create user, or if you're adding more people, create user and add another. All right. Now you can click on a user's name. You can always change their name. This is where you can change their passwords or their email address. Change the PIN for the voicemail box. Now, if your users are all going to have VoIP phones, you don't have to set a PIN for the voicemail box. Because what they can do from their VoIP phone, pick it up, hit *98, that logs them directly into their voicemail box that's associated with their phone. And then the system will prompt them to create a PIN and then record their name and their voicemail greeting. Now, if your users are using cell phones or landlines, you will need to set up a PIN. And you have the option for send to an alternate address, and again, to either put them in or take them out of the directory. Here's a pull down, so you can select someone to be an admin, or you can put them back to being the user. All right, basically, little blue suit icon, admin, just a little gray person icon, user. You can set the time zone for the user, the language, which is, I believe, includes English, French, and Russian. There might be German now. Then you've got ringing timeout. By default, this is set to 20 seconds. So this is how much time Dash will send a call to their contact phone numbers, right? So their VoIP phone, their cell phone, whatever. Now in this case, it's saying it's 120 seconds because I am making use of a feature called Follow Me, meaning I have multiple devices. But if I didn't have Follow Me enabled and I still had multiple devices, it would just ring all of the devices for 20 seconds by default. Your main extension number. The extension box, you can assign additional extensions or unassign if you want. Each user has a phone number box. All right, so this phone number goes directly to me. Basically, it doesn't have to go through the main menu or anything like that. And again, you can add from spare or buy new numbers. All right, here we have the devices. You can add from spare, you can add new. All right, SIP phone. This is a physical VoIP phone. Look for your manufacturer and then pick the model. The system will then ask you for the MAC address, which is usually a sticker on the back, and then ask you to give a name, right? So Bob's phone. Then you would click on Create Device and then Save Changes. Now, in the dashboard, that's all you need to do. On the phone itself, you would need to go into the web UI and add a URL, which is on the main VirtualPBX support site. And what that does is basically tells the phone, go to this website. It connects. The site says, hey, what's your MAC address? And then matches it up to what you put on the dashboard. Or the site says, hey, I know who you are. Here's your config file. Then your phone reboots, usually a couple times. And then it's connected and ready to use. And the advantage there is you can use most of the features that are built into the phone. All right, cell phone and landline are basically the same. You give it a name, and then you put the phone number. Main thing is, make sure to put +1. in front of the phone number and area, or the area code and phone number. Then you click Create Device. Now, if you click Advanced, this is the default of how a new device looks on Dash for cell phone or landline. So, call comes in, comes to my user, gets sent to my cell phone. My phone rings, I pick it up, then I hear a message. This is a forwarded call. Please press 1. Right? When I press 1, I'm telling the system, yes, I'm here and can take this call. Right? If I don't press 1, the call won't connect, and the call eventually would go to my voicemail box. Now, if I don't want that to happen, right? So I want to basically just pick up and start talking, or say this phone number isn't really a cell phone, but I'm having it go to an answering service, right? So they have an automated system. I would want to check this box here, allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So now, call gets offered to the cell phone, it picks up. We hear that connection tone, we disconnect the call. There's no need to press 1, just call is connected. Now, when going to an automated answering services, that's probably what you want. If it's actually a cell phone, what can happen is that inbound caller ends up on the cell phone's voicemail. Some people want that, some people don't. Okay, next up, we're going to keep original caller ID. So with it checked, that means the person who's calling, their phone number shows up on my cell phone. If I uncheck this, then what shows up on my phone is the phone number that the person called, right? It's like the main company number. Right? So this is a way to let you know it's a work call versus a robo-dialer or telemarketer, that sort of thing. All right, next up, we got soft phone. Main thing here is just a warning about E911. So we want to make you aware of that. All right, now, by default, you're on a use third-party application setup. So you give it a name, and then you would copy the SIP username, the SIP password, and the route. You do not want to change any of these. You would use all this information to program that third-party application. So Xlite from Counterpath is an example. The other reason you would want this is if you didn't see your physical VoIP phone under the SIP phone list, then you can try to program that phone with these credentials to see if that'll let that phone make and receive calls at the very least. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX Iphone App, then what you want to do is where it says use third-party application, click on that. Now it switches it to use VirtualPBX application. You give it a device name, you click Create Device, and then you would click Save Changes. So what that does, it assigns that soft phone to this user. The system emails that person their login information for the VirtualPBX soft phone app. They can then download the app, either on Android or iOS. We do have desktop versions for Mac OS and Windows. Those require a license fee, which you can get through via the store or contacting our billing department. But basically, so they could charge you. But then you would get a download link to download the app to the relevant computer. All right. Then we have web phone. That's that E911 info. Then you would give it a device name, and then click Create Device, and save changes. Advantage of the web phone, it uses the same login as your Dash login. You just then go to webphone.virtualpbx.net, enter in your login information using Chrome or Firefox, and then you can use that browser window to make and receive calls. All right, now we get to user features. So caller ID number, this only works if this user has their own phone number. And basically what this does is whenever I make an outbound call, I'm using my own phone number here as my caller ID versus the company's main numbers, right? So salespeople would typically like this, so that way when they make out their outbound calls for sales, that's the phone number that shows up, so they don't connect. Hopefully that person calls back to that phone number. Call forwarding, it's off, on, or failover. Right, so if you turn it on, you're just saying, hey, send it to this other device because I'm not at my normal phone. Right, so I'm at a remote site or I'm at a conference, but I can still get calls. Basically, send it to my cell phone. Now, failover mode is good for your VoIP phone users, because basically the system will detect when a VoIP phone isn't registered with us anymore, but you can still get calls, get automatically sent to your cell phone. The main thing for call forwarding is wherever you're forwarding it to, right? So in this case, the cell phone, that should not be a device on my user. It should be completely separate. Hot desking, this is a VoIP phone feature. If you enable it, create hot desk ID. I usually say make it your extension number. Up to you if you want to have a PIN required. But this is used in a shared office environment where people may be shifting desks from day to day, right? So today's Tuesday, I'm sitting at desk 7, right? So I sit down, pick up the VoIP phone there, I hit *11. That enables hot desking on the phone. It asks for the hot desk ID. I enter that. And then it says, hey, calls will be sent to this phone. At the end of my day, I pick it up again. I hit *12 to turn off hot desking. Right? So then tomorrow morning, I come in. Oh, someone's already at desk 7. So I see desk 41 is open. I sit down there. Same thing. Hit *11. Enter the hot desk ID, and now calls are coming to this phone. Voicemail is automatically on. Fax box. So you can set up users to have their own fax box. Like useful if you want individuals to get their own faxes versus a general fax mail. You click enabled. You have an option of adding a phone number or an extension. I recommend a phone number because most people are just used to entering a fax number, clicking send fax, and walking away, right? Versus if you choose extension, you're forcing that person who's faxing to dial your main number and stay at the fax machine and listen to the greeting, and then enter the extension, then click send fax. Conference bridge. Right, you click enabled, shows you the phone numbers. This is your conference room number, and then the PIN. And then the user can control their conference from their user portal, which we'll get to a little later. All right, follow me. I mentioned this earlier. And this shows multiple devices. This is how I'm handling those calls. Now, by default, when you first add or enable Follow Me, everything is set to do not ring. So if you look at it, look like that. So then you can select which devices you're going to use. You can click distribute, so that way it rings in order. Now these are sliders, so I can always do something like this. And then you can click and drag and change the order around too, which obviously makes more sense if you distribute. Music on hold. And so if I'm using a VoIP phone, I can set up individual hold music for users and upload .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Customized call recording. So let's set it to default here. All right. So if I enable it, I'm still not recording a call, right? Because the account default is off. Inbound internal means my coworker Bob called me, and I can choose to record that. Right? Inbound external means a customer called in. Outbound external means outbound internal means I called Bob back. And then outbound external means I called a customer back. And you don't have to have them all up, right? So, like, I don't care about the internal ones, just the external. So then those are the calls I'll be recording. All right, groups, short for ring groups. Basically, you can have a department where people are answering calls about the same topic, right? Add a group, you give it a name, give it an extension, and then you click and drag people who you want to be in that group. Once you create a group, you can click on the name. You can always change the name. And then here you've got dialing repeat. And over to the right, I don't know how clear it is on YouTube, but you have these little up and down arrows. You can increase or decrease this number. Basically, how many times that inbound caller can ring to the various members of the group. So in this case, 2. You also have the option to delete and then save changes. If you click on the members box, this is how you control how they're getting calls. So these are all my people in this group. Like on Follow Me, you can click and drag people around. All right, if I click distribute, changes the order there. Up here at the top right, that's the default duration. In this case, 120. Or sorry, 240. And you can change that to whatever you wish. Again, these are sliders, so you can drag that so you can have all your people ring at the same time. Right, or you could do something like I want these two to go at 40 seconds. Right, doing this kind of blocks of 2 or 3 or whatever. You can always add more people, and you can remove anyone you need to as well. The extension, so you can add multiple extensions if you want. This is essentially so other staff can transfer calls to this group. Groups can have their own phone number, meaning it bypasses your virtual receptionist and basically starts to ring in this group right off the bat. And then we got group features. All right, so ringback. This is a music file that will play while the inbound caller is waiting for one of the group members to pick up. So if you enable it, you can upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. You want to make sure this file, the duration of it, is as long as the ring duration of the group. The system does not automatically loop the file. And obviously, once one of your staff picks up, the file stops. Next action. Basically, if no one's able to pick up, then what do you want the system to do? In this case, I'm sending it to Bob's voicemail box, but you can also send it to your main menu, back to the virtual receptionist, so they can choose a menu option. Or to another user, another group, etc. Allow call forward. Basically, if you enable it, your users can make use of the call forwarding feature. Oh, one thing I should mention about call forwarding, your users can set that up themselves. It's not something you have to do for them every time. And they can do that directly from their VoIP phone. They can do it from the user portal. A caller ID prepend. This is for VoIP phone users. If you enable it, you can put extra text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on their phone. This gives them a heads up about what the call is about. All right, devices. Shows all the devices on the account. Green means we can send a call to it. Red means we can't. Actually, so does black. Black, however, means you disabled it. So if you just click on, then it'll either turn red or green. You can add devices up here. Main caveat is, I say, don't do a web phone here. And if you're making use of the VirtualPBX Iphone App, you don't want to add that here either. You want to do both of those on the user, just so they're assigned properly. Voicemail boxes. So all the users have the ones associated with them. You can add your own, i.e. for like your ring groups. Give it a name, give it a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. And then when you manually create one, you need to give it a greeting media, so either upload. You technically can call in and record over the phone as well. Then you want to make sure you have recipients, so someone gets an email with the voicemails that come in. So once you have those things done, then you want to look at options. You can check already set up, and then up to you if you want to do the delete after notification. Voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. After that, the person calling in gets a message saying the voicemail box is full, try again later. So if you delete after notification, what happens is voicemail is left, it gets emailed to your recipients, and then the system deletes the voicemail off the system so you don't get full. All right, here we got the greetings manager. So these are all the greeting files you've added to your system. You can download them using this little icon here, so that way you can listen to them. Then you have the wrench icon, so you can either change the name so it's something you remember easier, or just delete it because you're like, we don't need that anymore. All right, call logs. Shows your call activity. Right, so green arrow to the right means inbound call, or the yellow orange arrow to the left means it's outbound call. And in this case, that *21, that means that was logging in, or actually making ready in the queue. But basically, you can click on a call. You can see like where it came from, what phone number it came to, that it tried to hit the cell phone number, the duration, etc. Feature codes, I've talked about a couple. Basically, from a VoIP phone, you can enter these and navigate through the system or make use of features. The voicemail ones, you can also do from a cell phone, right? You just have to call into the main number that goes through the virtual receptionist. All right, go back to the dashboard here. Now up here at the top right, we have the hamburger menu, or just the menu icon. So we're on the dashboard. Over here we have ACD queues, or in this case ACD queues Pro, which we're just rolling out. So this is my status. So I'm currently away. This little phone icon, I can choose which device to send calls to. Now by default, Queues and Queues Pro can only send calls to a VoIP phone. Now if you want to create a queue, we'll go to one of these existing ones just to see what, show you what's already there. So both Queues and Queues Pro have an additional fee associated with them based on a per queue basis. That's going to depend a bit on your plan, ranging anywhere from $15 to, I believe, $99 for the Queues Pro. And that's per queue per month. Okay, maybe it's not going to let me see that. All right. So we give it a name. Select a phone number or an extension. Click next. All right. So call limit or lets you limit the number of callers waiting on hold. So if you have 0, you have no limit. Just below that, the 0 out to call flow, meaning you're enabling pressing 0 while people are waiting on hold, and then where are they going? In this case, I'm sending it to this particular device. queue timeout, basically how long a person can wait on hold, measured in seconds. Display agents to other agents, basically it lets your staff see the status of other staff members. That's if you toggle that on. Timeout immediately if empty, meaning you have no staff logged into the queue. Just time out the people waiting on hold. And then you can also record all calls on the queues. Now, escalation handling. You can send calls to another queue if you have additional queues. Otherwise, you would send them to like a device or typically a voicemail. So then we'll click next. Now you've got your routing strategy. Most idle, who's been waiting for their call the longest. Least calls handles is the number of connected calls. So whoever has the least amount of those gets the next call. Least offers, basically, Bob got offered 20 calls, but only talked to 2. Mary's been offered 5, spoke to 5, but Mary would still get the next call because she's only been offered 5. Round robin is equal. And then the skills, I don't think these are fully enabled on the system yet. All right, so ACD Keys Pro, it's not going to let me get to, because I don't have enough real estate on this. I guess I'll have to cancel out. So ACD Keys Pro, you can do a custom hold treatment. So you can have music play, you can have announce position, announce their wait, music play again, that sort of thing. Whereas on the standard queues, you basically have hold music. Here we go. Right, so here we have a music file, announce position, announce wait, etc. Agent behavior. Agent connect timeout, how much time we're trying to reach out to a particular agent. Force away on rejected or missed. So if your staff member isn't able to answer the call, if you toggle this on, it puts them in away mode, and then they'll have to put themselves back into ready mode. Recovery time, after they're done with the call, if you have this enabled, then in this case, they have 30 seconds before they're offered another queue call. So they can finish up notes, get a sip of water, etc. And you can allow a few extensions if you want to. Member assignment basically allows you to put people into the queue. And then you have review and confirm. So you can print this out so you know what your settings were in case you want to test something. So you can always revert back. In terms of member assignment, that's handled here by the little members icon. Right, person with a headset. Oops. Clicked on the wrong thing. Click Manage Members. This is where you can add additional people to be in your queue list. And then once they're in the queue list, you can actually add them to the queue. Right, this one has no members, but then I can move someone over if I want to. So a feature of ACDQs Pro is this performance section. Basically, you can select staff members so you can view their stats and compare them to each other. All right, let's go to Blacklist. Blacklist allows you to block callers block calls from particular phone numbers from reaching your system. So we'll go ahead and edit Blacklist. I already have these lists created. But if you need to make one, you'll just click Add. You give it a name. You can block anonymous, basically turn that on. So basically, if we get, or the system's getting invalid caller ID, then the system can block it automatically. Otherwise, you click Add Number. You put the +1 area code and phone number. Then you would click Save. You go back to Settings. And then you make sure it's under the selected set. And you click Update. And now, when those phone numbers try to call you, they just get a busy signal. All right, faxes. So admins can get to any of the fax boxes. All right, so they can see the inbound faxes or the outbound, as well as the email to fax logs. And the email to fax logs can be helpful in determining why a fax didn't get out. So in this case, it's saying, hey, this email address is not a user. That's why it didn't go. The monitor basically shows you what everyone's status is. Right? Green means they're waiting for a call. Blue means they're on an inbound queue call. Red means they're marked away. There's yellow, meaning they're on an external call. Then there's gold, which means they're on wrap-up time from a queue. Voicemails. And as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box. Now, if you have delete after notification enabled, you probably won't see a lot of voicemail. Right. Everyone has access to their own user portal. Again, you can see your voicemail, your call history, if you had any faxes, if you have a fax box. The contact list, this is just within the account, right? So the various users, groups, etc. You cannot add your own contacts to this. Conference, this is where you're managing your conferencing. So again, here's your contact, your call-in number, the conference number, the moderator PIN, and then the participant PIN. Up here, you can invite other coworkers, essentially other Dash users to your conference. You can lock the conference. You can mute everybody, unmute, and end the call. When you're actually within a conference, as a moderator, you can mute a specific person. You can also kick a particular person. And then under settings and devices, this is where users can set up their own call forwarding, as well as use their device status. Let's see here. Recording Manager, that goes to your call recording storage, which is hosted on AWS. Webhooks is basically if you're linking Dash to other software. And then reports is, I believe, still in beta, so I don't have access to that. Basically, it's advanced reporting based off of the call log. But then we'll go back to dashboard. And that is everything I have for you. So I do apologize for the length and the late start. Having some weirdness with this streaming software. But again, I thank you for your time. We'll be here again next Tuesday, and you can always review this. It's going to be available on our YouTube page. There's also links on the support pages at virtualpbx.com. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.